All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Facility Management Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Javier. So this next episode, a lot of people are always looking to get an ROI on their advertising and everything that they do. I mean, who isn't? That's why you run ads, right? But I want to kind of show, I guess, a way of how I've created something a little systematic on our side, where we're getting an 8-to-1 ROI on our ads. 8-to-1. So for every dollar that we spend, we're getting roughly $8 back from our ads. And you're like, wait, what? Yeah, pretty gnarly if you ask me. So this concept is called ROAS. It's return on ad spend. And ROAS is going to tell you the success of a campaign, okay? And so you can do ROAS on almost anything that you spend advertising on. So example would be is like if you go to a conference and you have a booth like Connects or like RIFMA or like IFMA, BOMA, any of those conferences. If you go to those conferences and you have a booth, then that's going to be advertising that you're spending money on. And it could be a fixed cost in that case. And other times it could be an actual fluctuating cost based on like if you're doing like Google ads or Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads, it doesn't matter, okay? And if you say, Javier, my customers are on LinkedIn, I beg to differ there. They have about 2 billion people that are using, Facebook, and there's like 8 billion people on there. I guarantee that's a quarter of the population. I almost guarantee that your audience is somehow, way, shape, or form on Facebook doing something, or maybe they're embarking into the TikTok world. So this is beside the point, okay? So where I'm getting to is that I'm not gonna say I've cracked the code, because some of our campaigns don't produce an 8-to-1 ROI or an 8-to-1 ROAS. But what it is, ROAS is just really what you generating in revenue for a campaign. So if you had a trade show so you went to a trade show and you had a booth there, and like it made like, let's just say $100,000 worth of new business, okay? And you spent $20,000 to have your booth there, not just the booth cost, I'm talking like the booth, sending your team out there, anything else involved with that, okay? Does that make sense? So let's just say it all totaled out to be $20,000 and you made $100,000. That's gonna be a ROAS of 5-to-1. Now, depending on your margins, that could be a positive ROAS for your team. In essence, it is a positive ROAS because you made your money back, right? So that's one way of looking at it. Now, if you go to the trade show and you don't have a strong ROAS, then there's probably two things going on. Either the trade show is wrong or how you positioned your business is wrong. And I would probably say that it's probably the latter, okay? Now, I'm not going to be talking about trade shows. I'm just giving this as an example, all right? So for facility and property management companies, this is just an example. What I'm going to be kind of describing to you is how we did it internally as a team, running paid advertising on social platforms such as Facebook and Instagram, and also search such as Google. So you want to first pick the best channels that you think you can find your customers on, okay? So what channels are they? Could it be actually going to a trade show? That could be a channel, right? Another channel would be like, could it actually be like running LinkedIn ads? Yeah, totally, that could work. What about Google search? Like, what about running ads on Google? Would that be a channel? Definitely. Search is a great tool, especially if you know how to leverage it correctly. Facebook is a great channel to also run ads on there as well too. And there's ways on how you can make this thing work. But you got to find the right channels that your audience is in, all right? Another option is like, and what are those trade magazines, okay? Like Facility Executive, I think, is one of the trade magazines out there. That might be a channel that you might want to start exploring. Now, me as a CMO, I would not be putting ads in there. I can tell you right now, me personally, that's a waste of my money. I would not put money into those ads. You're like, well, it's brand recognition. Yeah, but it's still wasted money. Okay? And I'm not here to debate that. I'm just simply saying that it's not going to get you the return that you're looking for. Okay? So the things that I like to do ROAS on is the ones that I can measure immediately. Okay? And so the reason I want to measure immediately is because I can start tracking its performance. All right. So I know in the facility game, in the property management game, like some of these customers, they may not turn over as fast as you expect. Like it might be a 3-month process or a 6-month process. That's okay. But you can then start dictating pipeline of like, hey, we've been running these ads for, 3 months, and this is what we spent. And it generated a pipeline of, I'm just going to $1 million. I'm just throwing an example. It got us like, 25 customer or 25 prospects, and cumulative of those 25, if we close them all, we could generate $1 million. All right. So then you can use ROAS like as part of that pipeline and say, okay, this is the opportunity. Now it's up to our sales team to close it. And so that's one way in how you can actually use ROAS, and because your sales process is longer. And then as you're doing this and you're doing it for 3, 6, 12 months, then you can see exactly what the true ROAS is after you close that business and what it generated revenue in. Does that make sense? And so this is the ideal way of how to do it. But if you want to see if a channel is being successful, then you can just do ROAS based on pipeline. Pipeline meaning like what the actual potential of this project, of this new business coming in can actually generate. And this is like after you have a discovery call, after you have several meetings, they have to do things internally. Like you kind of get an idea like, all right, I'll be offering them like HVAC and flooring services because those are the two things that they're like in pain for. And this is, how many locations, and it's going to be X dollars. And this is what we're going to be building pipeline off of. And so this opportunity created $1 million pipeline for us for this one project, or this one customer. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's how you can start helping yourself figure out, where the channel is and how to measure it. And then as you close it, then you'll know exactly what the true ROAS is going to be, your true return on ad spend. So then what you're going to want to do is you're going to start wanting to analyze the data. So that your close rate, your sales velocity is going to be like 6 months maybe, or 9 months. Like you should know this by now. You should know like, hey, if I generate a lead in January, the likelihood of that closing is in June. So you should know this by now. Like the sales velocity or the sales close rate on this, okay? But then you're gonna start analyzing the data of where your leads are coming from. All right. So if you pick 2 or 3 different channels, then you're gonna say, okay, this channel is generating more leads, and it's generating a higher pipeline opportunity. And then, 6 months from now, you'll be able to say, okay, like what we did in January actually is showing up in July, and it's giving us this much of return, and we spent this much. Ooh, interesting. And then things start changing. So like for us as a business, we analyze our personal and business leads. So leads that come in, they might be a personal inquiry or they might be a business inquiry. We close at a higher rate with business inquiries versus personal inquiries at an astronomical higher rate. Like I want to say that like for people that want to get their personalized wraps on their like Ford F-150 to like make it cool, we like from like lead to close, it's like 0.05% or maybe less. But on a business, from like lead to close, it's like we convert at like 7%, maybe higher, which is really, really huge. And this is across the board. Like this is all phases. Okay, like we generate a high volume of leads, and we're getting this dialed in. So you need to analyze the data. So what channels are getting you leads, what the quality of those leads are, and so like. You don't care about the volume of lead. Like what you care about is the quality of lead, and if that quality lead is generating future pipeline, okay? And so when you start doing those 2 things, you start kind of understanding and how to get better at creating your ROAS. So what I'm doing at Wrapmate right now, and I'll give you an example, is that we have several ads that are being ran on Facebook. We have 4 of them actually. There's 4 campaigns. And each campaign is hitting specific parts of the funnel, and then there's another one that's just it's not even following any of that, to be honest. And so I'm going through and I'm saying, okay, this campaign generated 200 leads. And of those 200 leads, we got 5 customers that closed. All right. And those 5 customers that closed generated $30,000 worth of revenue. And of those $30,000, I spent $2,000 to get that lead. And then all of a sudden, I'm calculating, and I'm just like, I don't even know if that's a true number. I just made these numbers up literally as I go. So if I said 30,000, and it, spent $2,000, that's a 15 to 1 ROAS. We're not getting 15 to 1. We have some campaigns that are getting us like 8 to 1, 10 to 1, 12 to 1. And so then what I'm telling my agency, I'm saying, okay, guys, this is what campaigns are doing really well in. I need you to start reallocating budget from these other ones and put it toward these other campaigns because we're getting great leads and they're closing. And so we're doing the same thing for Google. I'm analyzing all the campaigns that they have launched, and I'm looking at like, hey, we're getting an influx of personalization leads in this particular campaign. We don't want a ton of personalization leads. We want more business leads. And this is dropping their ROAS. Even though our customer, our cost per lead is like sub $2, our sales team is sifting to just barely make any money off of these things. Okay, they're going through and calling a ton of leads. And it's great to have all these leads, but it's not making them efficient. So, with our sales team, we had a discussion like, guys, I can send you a volume of leads and you're always going to be having a lot of in your pipeline, or I can send you quality of leads and you're going to just have to work that lead accordingly. What do you want? And they're like, well, we want more quality. I'm like, all right, if that's the case, then you cannot complain about not having enough leads. This is on you to work the leads accordingly. You have plenty of leads, work them. And because when I was finding this out, I was finding out that some of them weren't actually calling all of the personalization leads because they were either inundated or they didn't want to deal with it because there was going to be a crappy vehicle that was going to get wrapped and they knew for a fact it wouldn't convert. And so that pissed me off. I'm like, dude, I am spending money on these leads. You're taking my budget and then you're throwing it away. And so I could be spending that money somewhere else. Like, that's not right. And so I think it's starting to tick. And so this is where you need to analyze your data and figure out, okay, this channel generated X amount of leads. So this trade show got me 20 leads. Of those 20 leads, I would say 5 of them are solid, okay, after discovery calls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, those 5 solid ones created this much pipeline. Of that much pipeline, I'm going to work those leads for the next 6 months. That will tell me if that trade show was profitable. The same goes with doing the same thing with paid advertising, like say on LinkedIn. All right, I spent this much money on LinkedIn. It generated 100 leads over the course of 3 months. Of those 100 leads, I got 20 of those leads that are SQOs, sales qualified opportunities, or SQL, sales qualified leads. And those 20 leads is created $20 million in pipeline. And so I'm going to keep working those leads until I close them to figure out all that I spent. Let's say it's $10,000 on running ads for 3 months and see if it, actually, made me profit. And so it's going to take, if your sales cycle is a lot longer, then you're just going to have to invest into the channel until you start seeing ROIs. That's the challenge with running a ROAS type strategy, is that you've got to spend a lot of money to find out what the return on ad spend is, because you've got to start, you got to keep putting money into this machine to figure it out. But it can be done, okay? And so this is what we're doing. So we've got some campaigns that are getting us a 3 to 1 or 4 to 1. It's still profitable, but not as profitable, okay? And so it means that we should be putting less money into those campaigns. I'm not saying kill it. I'm just saying put less money into those campaigns and put more money into the higher producing ones, okay? Yeah, we're going to get lesser leads, but we're getting higher quality, okay? So, and then what we're figuring out is the leads that are anywhere from $5 to $8, they're higher quality, and we're closing them at a higher rate. I mean, it's not even, it's like becoming this is all becoming an algorithm in math. I'm predicting future revenues now, because now I'm seeing what campaigns are generating. And so now I can start saying, okay, if I spend $10,000 in this particular campaign, I know it's going to get me X amount of leads. And of those leads, I know it's going to be SQOs. And I know that we're converting at a 25 to 30% ratio from SQO to customer. So as long as I can get them the best quality leads and increase the SQO, I'm going to be increasing revenue like that. And that's how you as a marketer get tied to revenue. And that's what you want. Okay? So I just gave you, fuck man, I can't believe I just gave you all this. It's kind of crazy. And I'm thinking about it out loud in my head. I'm like, holy shit. But this is how I tie myself and the marketing team to revenue. Because when my CEO starts seeing what leads are generating, because at one point Chris sent me an email and he's like, hey, your leads are down. I'm like, well, they're not down. We're testing some things. He's like, like, I don't care if a lead is $20, that's too much. I can't, and then I started showing him the numbers. I'm like, Chris, these $2 leads aren't producing it for us. And then he's seeing the numbers and I have like the spreadsheet going on. He's like, oh. He's like, I guess it's kind of hard to go from like $2 leads to like now $5 leads and $8 leads and $10 leads. I'm like, yeah, it totally is. But it's making our team more efficient and we're closing at a higher rate. And end of the day, it's all about revenue. You as a marketing leader need to be tied to revenue from the very get-go. You need to find everything as possible, close as possible, to be as close as possible to that revenue number. And if you can do that and you can influence revenue, you will always be employed as a marketing leader. Okay, I'm telling you. All right. So that's what's going on with us. So we're going to start making these changes. Oh, here's something else that's really cool is that Chris has even broke down numbers even more so to the point where even net profit, all right? Net profit, not just gross. Net profit is like at a 3-to-1 ratio. So not only are we paying for our ads, not only are we paying our COGS, our cost of goods sold, and just all of our operations, we are profitable running these ads. Profitable. So now we're getting to a point where we literally are creating algorithms and mathematically and scientifically dictating our future. We are the narrators of how we want this thing to look like. That is awesome. And that's how you get an ROI on your ads. So I hope this was helpful. Like, I'm sitting here like talking about this. I'm like, man, this is like mind blowing. Okay. And so, and we're using this information to help our company get funding for our company. So we're in the process of getting capital funding. And I hope to come back in the next couple months to say that, we got a Series A round of funding, which would be an amazing thing for all of us, because then all of a sudden things start changing. Things start getting crazy because then I've got more budget to start spending more on ads and capturing more customers, and things are getting really wild. And right now, as we're being very resourceful with what we have and what we can do, and I'm trying to inspire other facility and property management companies, because I want you guys to understand that I don't have this unlimited amount of budget to do marketing. I've got to keep things tight within our company. I can't be spending money in all these different areas. I've got to be smart. And so I'm looking for value. I'm not looking for cheap. I'm looking for value. Okay? And, I got to make sure my marketing team is resourceful. They know how to do certain pieces. And if we can't do something, we know how to find someone that can do this one piece for us. So it's just what I'm getting to is that we've become resourceful as an organization. You can look at that as good and bad, but I'm trying to encourage other facility and property management companies that don't have a ton of budget to start spending on ads in other areas. But this is how you start saying, hey, give us an opportunity, give us a small amount of budget towards marketing that we're actively using, not just we're going to go to a trade show. No, fuck that. Have a strategy around that. okay? Do it correctly. Have a strategy around the approach, how it's going to look like, all of it, okay? And if it looks good and you're getting an ROI after, say, 3 to 6 months, then you keep doing it. And that's it, okay? So that's it. 3 things before I let everybody go. Number 1, please take the time to rate our podcast on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review if you're finding some great value out of this podcast. Number 2, connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on there. LinkedIn.com/in/Javier Lozano Jr. And number 3, share this podcast with somebody else. Either DM them or text message them or something, but we want this podcast to continue to grow. So if you've been an active listener of this podcast, of the FMMP, I can't thank you enough, because you're the reason why I continue to do these podcast episodes, all right? I know that I have a small audience, and that's okay. I'm not looking to be to have a ginormous audience. I'm looking to make an impact to the audience that I'm working with. And so if you're finding value in these podcasts, we have more stuff to come. And there's more things that are being built in the background. I just need a little bit more time. So anyways, you'll still keep getting these podcasts, but I hope you guys are enjoying it. Other than that, I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll talk to everybody later.